Okay, so we'll start with guided meditation. So just let yourself get comfortable. Allow the body to relax. Find a position where it doesn't need a lot of attention. And then I invite you to do a similar thing with the mind. Allow the mind to relax. And find a position where, at least for a few minutes, it doesn't need our attention. Let it just settle down. And in the space of that stillness, without anything pulling our attention away from here and now, just notice what's present. One of the typically invisible qualities of our experience is just awareness itself. And right now, allow your attention to turn towards awareness itself. The capacity of being aware. And notice that right now you're aware of the sound of my voice. Just notice what else you're aware of. Noticing the awareness part of what you're aware of. If there's anything that pulls your attention away from this moment, just become aware of that. And then notice again the awareness. Often what happens, our awareness goes out into the content. We lose track of the awareness. So the invitation is become aware of the awareness. in that spacious place of awareness. What I invite us to consider is some stressful ideas about our planet Earth. Specifically, I invite you to consider the idea that Earth is being harmed, Earth is being damaged by our actions. So I invite you to consider a moment in your life where this has seemed true for you. Where there's been some suffering, some distress, of the harm being done to the earth, the damage. Clear-cut rainforests and oil spills in the ocean and plastic and landfills and toxic chemicals, whatever it is that really gets you. Earth is being harmed, it's being damaged. And allow to come to mind a specific scenario where that really rang true for you and you felt it. And either of you need more time to find your specific moment, specific relationship with that concept. Okay, well, let's pause this part here and we'll have a little go around to just share about what we see. What's our particular relationship? What's the moment that stings for us? Earth is being damaged. And I'll go first. So for me, one that stands out to me is when I was young, I remember I really got the strong idea of not wasting water. And I remember as a kid going around and like following my family around and like turning the sink off if they weren't really using it, like running the sink while they were brushing their teeth, like, oh, I'm going to turn that off, or like, okay, that was enough water, like you're washing your hands but you got enough. Like I got it into my head, like just use a little bit of water, just a little bit, in order to care for the earth. So I've got this tender little, like 8-year-old maybe. That's the moment that I'm working with. That's my situation. Either of you want to go next? What came up for you as you were being with Earth as being damaged?
Quite a bit, but I seem to zero in on a more recent experience. During COVID, there was a time during COVID where having a window into other parts of the world, at a particular time, there were places that were usually very obviously polluted that the skies cleared. So many things, vegetation cleared up, and it was just such a short space of time that it took just to stop for this to happen. And
Yeah.
so the contrast of that made me, it was just such heavy contrast to see that if in 2 weeks this much healing could happen, that contrast gave me this overwhelming kind of a greater connection to just how intense the damage is that we're doing.
Yeah.
And that made me feel quite self-conscious. It made me wonder uh, what is outside of my awareness. It made me wonder a lot about myself. What am I not seeing? It's like I sort of realized that this would be the case, but to see it caused a more immediate um, concern in me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I want to invite you into is to be with as best you can, like a moment of that concern where you were really aware of the intense damage. Like if you can sort of rewind in time and find yourself in that moment of recognition of like, oh, and then we'll meditate from that moment of recognition of the intense damage. And what about for you, Farrellyn? What comes up for you about the earth as being damaged?
It, I flash back to about when I was 9 years old or so, and I was hearing about the environment, pollution, and that was very heavy on my heart to hear that. I just had an automatic total sadness for what I was learning about and pictures and all that. And then, of course, I'm aware of the ocean damage with plastics, and when it particularly gets me when I see animals being rescued from being tangled up in things, or the slicks, and I feel most compassion for the animals, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for you, see if you can just find a moment, and it can be a somatic memory, like where it's called up in your body, right? Where there's just this sadness, the environment, the pollution, seeing animals tangled and being rescued. And for you, that's where I invite you to meditate, right in that sadness.
Like
Yeah.
go into the somatic memory,
Yeah.
or impression. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do that now. Do that now.
As we move into the next step, that's just where I invite you to go. Yeah. Okay. So now, what I want to do is, up until now, all of our inquiring together, I haven't included the first step of the classical process of the work of Byron Katie. So we're going to add that first step on. I've just been kind of walking us in a little bit at a time. So what I want you to do, both of you, is sit in the moment or in that somatic experience that was clarified for you. And I've got mine of turning off the water when I was young. So sit in your own. And what I want to invite you to do is find enough stillness within yourself in that situation to be able to answer this next question with one word, either yes or no. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just what feels true for you. So is it true? Is it true that the earth is being damaged? Just sit in that moment and allow just a yes or no, whatever's true for you, to arise. Whenever you have your answer, feel free to just share your yes or your no. The earth is being damaged. Is that true?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When you say the Earth, I think of the whole planet and its whole evolution, and the being of the Earth. But then when I picture things being damaged, it's individual species or animals or
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not sure how to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I heard was, in response to the prompt of the earth is being damaged, the images of the animals being tangled arises, right? So as you sit in, okay, so the earth is being damaged. Is that true? Just allow yourself, without overthinking it, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's just an experience. Is that true for you, that the earth is being damaged?
Yes.
Okay. And for me, I also find a yes in that situation with my little one. Yes. And then we have a yes in the chat.
Yes. And not to rewind, but I missed a step. I found when I observed this, I found myself going around and trying to tell everyone, look, 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 this is all we have to do. That was the feeling.
You were
Urgency.
saying, look, look, look. What did you say after that?
Well, I tried to point it out to everyone I kind of ran into. Like,
Yeah.
look, all we had to do was stop for 2 weeks and this happened. Like, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Beautiful.
was
Good
urgency
noticing.
and sorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get
So
into
yes is the
that.
answer.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we'll get into that look, like what begins to happen. We'll get into that. That's step 3. So this was step one. Is it true? The second step is similar, and it's, can you absolutely know that it's true? So it's just an opportunity to look again. It doesn't have to change your answer, but it's an opportunity to look again. So the earth is being damaged. I invite you again to find enough stillness within yourself to have one word, one syllable. Can you absolutely know it's true that the earth is being damaged? Whenever you have your answer, feel free to popcorn.
Again, I have a conflict of understanding what you mean by earth, or what we mean by earth, because as the whole, it's being damaged, but not irreversibly. It's being abused, but it will survive. It. But yes, I witness injury to areas of land or animals or water, or so I don't know.
So
what do you mean by earth?
What I mean by earth doesn't matter at all. So this is, what does it mean to you?
Earth, nature.
Yeah. So see if you can sit with that. And can you absolutely know it's true, whatever's true for you, that earth, nature, is being damaged? And either answer is fine, but what's true for you? Can you absolutely know it's true?
Do you want my answer?
Yeah.
Yes, it's being damaged.
Okay. So I invite you to just honor that answer. Be with your yes. Just be with that.
But again, I have to go with the words. Do I absolutely know it's true? Yes, for me, it's true.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for. Yeah, this process is about finding out what's true for you. Yep. So, William, seemed like you had an answer at the same time.
I'm hesitant to say it, but no.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, no.
Yeah.
There are potentially things happening at scale that I can't be aware of. And I mean, I feel bad saying no. I really kind of mean yes, but
yeah. Yeah. So first, just notice the conflict. And then I invite you also to just be with that no. And for me, a no to the second question. So I have spent almost 2 decades in these questions, and I'm intimately familiar with them. So a no to the second question, can you absolutely know that it's true, is not proof about anything about the earth. It's looking at, do I know? Can I know that? So it's looking at my knowing. So I invite you to be with that no, which is really just a looking at your knowing. It just means that you don't know that for sure. And sometimes that in the beginning phases of this practice, it can feel like a dismissing or a letting go of what we've held onto, to protect. And I invite you to notice you don't have to let go of care for the earth when you have a no. It's just an acknowledging, I don't know for sure. And for me, I also have a no. And we have a yes in the chat. So just whatever your answer was, can you absolutely know it's true that the earth is being damaged? Just take a moment to be with that answer. Give a little space to your yes or your no. And now this next part is what happens when we believe it. And so typically in Inquiring Together, this is where we have started. This is in the classical form, this is step 3. So this is, how do you react? What happens for you when you believe Earth is being damaged? So even if you found a no, now we're just looking at the impact of the belief itself. What happens in your world? What happens in your body? And so, for instance, William, this is, you started to notice the impact of like, oh, I want to prove to people, look, and then we have in the chat, and I don't know if you're trying to be anonymous today, but in the chat we have, I hurt. So what happens when you believe the earth is being damaged? So go into that situation again. The earth is being damaged. Watch what happens. And then as you're ready, we'll just popcorn it out. In other words, feel free to share when you're ready.
What happens when I recognize damage and I feel empathically impacted? It feels like an enormous problem, and I have to surrender to a lot of it. I feel like I have to accept a lot of it because it's way bigger than me. Looking at the whole planet and all these different countries and different people doing all their things. And then I want to help myself. I want to help the situation. I want to be realistic. And I go, what can I do to help? Where can I authentically place my efforts? Where can I help?
Yeah.
So I scan around my life and I go, well, I can work with rescued animals, or I pick up trash all over the place. Where can I help?
Yeah.
And how much do I authentically want to get involved with?
Yeah.
But I feel kind of like it's not my main task. And anyway, that's the gist of it.
Yeah. And for me, what I notice as that little one my heart rate increases. It's like all of my like my body's processes are sort of like humming along, but then they go, the earth is being damaged, and my body goes like everything gets tense. My heart rate gets fast. My mind moves really quick, and I become controlling. I was following my family around, like, turn it off, turn it off. And trying to be as kind and loving as I could in the process, but it was like, this is important. This is urgent. It was like it was, life threatening in that moment was how it felt. Like, turn the water off now. Now, turn it off now. I just carried urgency and this high pitch, like, threat in my body. It was like almost like I don't know if it reached quite the point of being terror, but terror like kind of resonates. The word terror resonates. Like it was just like overwhelming. Anything you want to share, William?
Am I sharing from the yes or the no?
From believing the thought the earth is being damaged. So that, yeah, from a yes.
Yes. So um, um, a sense of immediacy and urgency. Yes. Um, as I said, I found myself going around and pointing, uh, and kind of like potentially this was a small window to show something, and where possible, I needed to. There was a need and an urgency, and uh, I quite similar to what you said. Um, Urgency, panic, and self-responsibility, or not responsibility to point.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's begin to look at our relationships. As that came up for some of us. Look at how you begin to relate to those around you with this thought. As we believe this thought, the earth is being damaged. How do you begin to relate to the people around you? I notice I automatically assume that they don't get it. And I feel stingy in relating with others.
I have this mental image coming up of me sort of going around and gently turning people's heads, which is controlling and it might be my head that needs turning.
Yeah.
Just as much, if not more, so that.
Yeah. Like, I don't know where your attention is right now, but it needs to be over there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar for me. I don't know what you're using this water for, but it needs to stop. Controlling. Absolutely. I know what's best. And anger in the chat. Angry at them. An automatic heart disconnect to those I feel are responsible.
A heart disconnect, she wrote. Oh
Mhm.
yeah. I didn't find any change come up in me toward other people.
Yeah. And that's okay. Just about noticing.
Oh, I know it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's notice the relationship with Creator. With this thought, the earth is being damaged. Does it feel like this is a kind place to be? This is a good, life is good? Does it feel like this is a scary, unwelcoming place to be? What is it? Notice relationship with Creator, with life, with the universe, with the thought, earth is being damaged. What's your relationship with Creator like, with life like? Just sit with that for a moment before we share. Ready to share?
You got something, William? You look like you were about to say.
Oh, so many things that I'm not sure where to say.
Feel free to share whatever would like to be heard.
When I consider Creator as well, I have this. Am I doing it right? Are we doing it right? Are you doing it right?
Yeah. 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 So
Not
that
sure how to put it.
it makes a lot of sense. The polarity of right wrong begins to emerge. That's really resonant for me as well. Like there's a right way, and I don't know if this is it. You want to follow up on that?
It's just as well as right. There's also good enough. Is it good enough?
Yeah.
Which I guess it comes from the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it good enough? So just be with that. Notice that that begins to emerge. Is it good enough? Have we done it right? Are you doing it right? You want to share, Fairlyn?
Yeah. It definitely feels wrong, and I feel like, okay, this is a learning planet. We're in this hologram matrix reflective creation. We're in this together. I don't like how it is. It's a group process. It takes a long time. I have to be patient. It's wrong to my senses. It's not my choice, not by preference. La la la.
Yeah.
But I'm not fully responsible for. I'm responsible for my response. You know, to what's happening. But I have to see it as a learning environment.
Yeah.
And it's a group process.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for the positives. I'm looking for positive outcomes. I'm looking for a learning curve, a major learning curve in my lifetime for everyone. That's the only thing that, to me, that can explain the craziness of it all. And the pain, witnessing the pain. It's like, okay, we're learning, right? Are we learning now? We learned it yet? Come on. How to get along, how to be on this beautiful planet.
Yeah. So what I want to invite you into is to notice first the sense of wrong arises. And then the other thing like all of that arises secondarily of like, okay, well, how do I be with what's wrong? Okay, so I want to learn. This is a learning planet. All of that arises secondarily. And what a lot of this process is about, specifically part 3, is like being with the stress, being with the suffering. So what I want to invite you into is like, not to get rid of the second part, but just let's rewind a little bit. Before your secondary response to the sense of being wrong, I want to invite you first, just be with. Notice, okay, wrong. Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. And I want to move to something else. Okay, got it. I want to move there, but okay, first, this is wrong. Just be with that for a moment. You don't have to stay there. I just want to invite you to be with it. And for me, in relationship with life and creator, I definitely have some like stereotypical wanderer type stories arise of like, there's something wrong with this planet. There's something wrong with this group of people. I don't belong here. I don't fit here. I want to eject myself. I don't know how to fix this. I don't fit. I don't fit is a big one. And then it's like, oh, there can be massive, like cosmic level problems. Like there's sort of this dawning on that little one of like, woo, too big for me. I know I'm here to help, but check, please. It's just too big.
Yeah. Like, am I in the right classroom? Did I take the wrong level course?
Yeah.
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 So you're asking what I make up about it, about when it feels wrong. What do I make up about it being wrong?
It's really just to notice the sense of wrongness. and then also to notice one of the responses to the wrongness is, okay, I want to figure out what I can do about it, and I want to solve it, and just to notice. Does that make sense? We're watching what's happening. We're learning the self.
Yeah, especially when I remembered to go somatic.
Yeah.
And just go with that feeling. The feeling
Yeah.
of
So what let's do now is move to the next step. So just right now, for a moment, who would you be without the thought? What is your presence like without the thought, Earth is being damaged? And so again, this isn't about replacing the thought with anything else. We're not saying, okay, Earth is fixed, Earth is healed, none of that. It's just, if that concept, we can't put that meaning onto what we see happening. Who would you be right now without that thought, without applying that meaning? Earth is being damaged. What is your presence like? What you also can do is, if your moment is from the past, you can take yourself back to that moment. If you couldn't apply that meaning, then what is your presence like in that situation? Without the thought, Earth is being damaged. Anyone ready to share?
Um, so when I was sitting with wrong and I entertained the somatic aspect of it, the imagery that came up was my heart space turning into a waterfall, falling inwards. Contraction, not good, not nice. And upon the invitation to think otherwise, or what? Sorry, how exactly did you put it?
Earth is being damaged. Without the thought, Earth is being damaged.
It turned immediately from, and by waterfall I mean like Niagara Falls going in, and then it turned into a fountain. And without that thought, and I took that thought back into the moments in the past when I had felt wrong, and I realized that if I had been in fountain mode instead, I might have perhaps been more useful.
Yeah.
Not in that urgency way, like
Yeah.
oh, I might have realized many other ways to respond other than emergency and contraction.
Yeah.
Felt good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's so consistent with my, almost 2 decades worth of being in this practice. It's like, I think that I'm going to solve it with believing the thought, and that believing the thought is useful. But then actually, in the inquiry, without the thought, I still care. The care is still there, and so much more availability of resources happens without the thought. Wisdom, connection, flow. And that's what I find without the thought in my situation too. It's like, oh, I still care. And there's also care for the person I'm standing next to, asking to turn off the faucet. There's like, hey, guess what? This is exciting. I learned about water. Let's care for the water together. Like there's love, there's connection, there's wisdom. It becomes like a game rather than carrying the burden of the world on little 8-year-old shoulders. And I can't do it. I can't. And I'm disconnected from the people I'm next to, and it's awful. Like, this is awful that the faucet is on right now. Like, but then without the thought, look what we can do. And in the chat, the only way for me to find that is to use the, what would it look and feel like if I were born on a planet where this wasn't an issue, right? Yeah, so that's an invitation that I've offered in the past. Like sometimes it's hard to access, like, okay, who would you be without the thought? And so there's like, what if you were born onto a planet where that was never even presented as an option? That never, that Earth is being damaged doesn't even exist in the collective consciousness, that possibility. So then she says, I let go of the stress. I'm suddenly okay. I feel lighter, stress-free, and free-flowing. Yeah. Anything you want to share, Farrellyn? Without the thought, Earth is being damaged.
I went back to my first compensatory place of, well, it's in a process. We're in a process, and I have to be supremely patient.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest meta understanding I can offer myself. But it's not that great. It's just kind of compensatory. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that anything ideal can show up in this situation, but
yeah,
it's how I can handle it.
Yeah. And what I also want to invite you into is, because I may not be understanding where it is that you are, but what it sounds like is there's still a layer of like filter being put onto the situation. And what this fourth step of being without the thought is like, as best we can, like removing filters. And we do that just by removing that one. And often as we remove that one, there can be others that arise. But see if you can even take off the filter just for a moment of this as a process. And who would you be without that thought? Like just clear seeing of the earth, clear seeing of these animals. Just see if there's anything that arises for you.
it's really hard for me to do, to detach to that level. I think I'm very caught up in the earth
Yeah.
as a being.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I know it's there, that thought is there, but it feels like I'm manipulating my own mind I can accept that thought, but I don't really want to. I feel like
Yeah.
it's part of why I'm here is to care about it. And I don't mean in a personal sense, because I'm doing everything I can to be impersonal right now,
Yeah.
to let go of personal thought.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I get the thought. I get leaving the thought behind and just saying, hey, who am I to judge?
Yeah.
It's an exercise.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and here's another thought about how and why I invite you into this is consistently over the thousands of times that I've used this process, this practice, my heart and my wisdom is actually more online. I'm actually better able to fulfill my directive without the thought than with the thought. And I find that with myself and also all the people that I have facilitated. It's like we think the limited lens of like, okay, I'm going to believe this and it's going to help. And it may, it may. And it's just helpful to be able to actually check and see. And,
I
ultimately it's
feel
yours.
I
It's
feel like it's
yours.
a
But
yeah, it's
yeah,
I know what you're saying. Um to withhold the layering of thought upon what I observe, what I experience. But this is a tricky one because
mm,
yeah, I know it's not wrong. It's wrong. It's not wrong. It feels wrong. It's not wrong.
mm,
But I feel like I'm doing a bit of a manipulation
yeah,
because ultimately it's going to feel wrong to me when I witness the level of damage.
yeah,
So I appreciate the exercise of,
yeah,
I'm keeping track of my thoughts that it's wrong. I'm not making other people wrong. I'm just going, this feels wrong.
yeah, yeah,
And I know something else is possible. So
yeah, yep,
thank you. I think I'm
yeah,
with you. I think I'm
yeah.
with
Well, if it's working for you, then yeah, carry on.
Yeah, to accept that Earth is in a process and I need to be patient. That's working for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, just to share a little bit more, what I imagine may be possible for you is a knowing that the earth is in a process without also needing the layer of a belief about that.
Okay.
And really,
Knowing
that's
without,
experiential. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I do know we're in a process. If I know anything, I know that
Yeah.
we're in a time-space realm and it's a process and I've elected to be here.
Yeah.
And I only know so much. I don't get to understand it all.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Or is that still a belief?
Well, ultimately, what guides me in this for myself is just a fine tuning of what hurts and what doesn't. And when I'm moving from a knowing that still hurts, for me, that's like, oh, actually, I'm in a belief.
Oh,
Because when I know, there's just clear seeing, there's clear action with an open heart. It's just like, oh, I'm here to help that. And what an honor. What a freaking honor to be able to help those animals. Hallelujah. So that's for me. And I imagine, if you're interested, because I'm in this process, in this practice, believing in the end of suffering. That's what I'm here for. I know about the end of suffering. So I imagine, if you're interested, you can continue to follow this path of caring for the animals, and it can hurt less if you're interested.
Thank you. Yeah, I know there's more inquiry in there about my observing it this way. Like, oh, we're in a process and I have to be patient. There's more under that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what let's do now is just move back into the thought for a moment, into with the thought the earth is being damaged. So this is what recovering area we've already been, but just to see it again with the thought the earth is being damaged. And feel free to share whatever you notice right away. What comes up for me immediately as I noticed I started sweating. Like, oh no, don't go there again. Ooh, it's too much. It's too much. I can't handle it. And in the chat, get me out of it. I don't want to feel this way anymore. Yeah. No need to share if there's nothing to share. We'll just be here for a minute and then we'll flip back. With the thought, Earth is being damaged. All right, now let's return to without the thought. What is your presence like when you don't apply that meaning to the situation? Earth is being damaged without that thought. Again, for me, the care immediately comes online. Like it's just action, action with care. Trusting the rightness of action with care. Anything you want to share?
without the thought, there is spaciousness and room to move. And in this space, I'm doing it right, whatever that means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I've found that so often in my moving back between the 3 and 4, like with the thought and without the thought, that like in the third step of with the thought, there can be this right wrong. Like it's a right, there's a sense of there's a right way to do it in a way that hurts. It's contracted. And then without the thought, oh, there's a knowing of rightness that doesn't hurt. It just feels right. It's like, oh, I know what's right because I know what's aligned with my heart and what's available right now. And I know I'm doing my best. Just there's a rightness. And to me, like being able to live in that place, that's my passion. Like that's what I am interested in terms of the end of suffering. Like knowing, that knowing of rightness. So when we believe a thought, it's like focusing the mind of the creator. So we're already, this is my cosmology, my story of what's happening. We're already sort of a limited, a limited focus of the mind of the creator. We each have a limited focus, and then we can even limit that even more to go like, oh, and what I'm going to do with that attention, that focus, is the earth is being damaged, and look here. And so as we move to the final part of this journey, the 5th step, this is what's known as the turnaround. And so it's like a way of like, I've been looking this direction. What else is there? Like, can I look over my shoulder? Can I turn around? So it's just a way of opening to what we might have been missing. And this is not about now replacing one with the other, but just trying on other possibilities that we might have missed to see if they fit. So it's not about like, okay, let's replace that, and now this is the thing we need to believe. But looking at, for instance, Earth is not being damaged, can that show us something that perhaps we missed when we were looking so focused this way? What if we look that way? Is there something over there? So just consider Earth is not being damaged. Could that be true? What does that show you if you consider the possibility that Earth is not being damaged? Feel free to share what what you notice when you consider the possibility that Earth is not being damaged.
When I consider the earth as not being damaged, then it seems apparent to me that this contraction is me damaging myself.
Mm. Yeah.
And that flips, that makes me see myself as this piece of the earth. Um, I'm sorry, I don't know how to put it.
Mm. Yeah.
That seems really clear to me. I could hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that it brings up for me, one of the things that's shown to me over and over again in this process, this practice, is just our freedom, like our free will. That, like, when I believe in damage, I experience damage. Like, that's part of our freedom as a creative principle, as creators. Like, show me damage. Oh, there it is. It hits me. One of the things that comes up for me is the like the spaciousness. Like, what comes to mind when I look at the earth is the potential of the earth as not being damaged. I have that Rumi poem arise for me that is out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing. There's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Like, it's just like, oh, wow. Like, it just feels like, again, I understand it's too full to talk about. I understand not being damaged. And that makes sense to me. And there's still so much care and the desire to carry out that care. In the chat, I have to see it as healing. That future people will know how to do better and heal it, that the damage is temporary. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the places I go with that is like often this practice can show me what I think I know, and this sort of like the ego behind what I think I know. Like, I know what's best. And I know that the water needs to turn off right now because I know. I know about when water should and should not be used. And in order to actually know what's best, it's like our minds would have to grasp so much time, like the effect of that, and then the effect of that, and then the effect of that, and the effect 1,000 years down the line, the effect of 1,000,000 years down the line, to actually like know the outcome. And there's so much ego in that limited view of like, I know what's best. Yeah. So the earth is not being damaged. Yeah, so let's look also at I'm being damaged. As William brought up, that's another way of looking at the turnaround. It's called a turnaround to the self, whatever it was that you were judging. Yeah, and chat, creator knows best, not me. Yes. Then I'm right sized again. Oh, okay, so I'm being damaged. So one of the ways we can look at that is when I believe that thought. When I believe that thought that Earth is being damaged, how might it be that I'm being damaged? Just to try it on.
When I keep using a word over and over, it starts to go flat. So I'm substituting damage for damage. I'm putting in suffering, or pain.
Yeah.
The earth is in pain. The earth is suffering. The animals suffering. Whatever. I forget what I was going to say.
Well, I like that comment already. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that yeah. I guess it doesn't matter what I was going to say. It's just that of course, I know it's my human interpretation and all that, and I don't want to give it up because that would be giving up some of my humanity, I believe. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm still okay with keeping that empathy. Yeah, I'm trying not to make up anything more about it, but I don't want to let that go.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in the inquiry is also about how did you put it? The living beyond suffering,
Yeah.
finding what's true before suffering, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't. Empathy sometimes involves suffering. I don't know if I witness. Yeah, am I projecting onto the animals that they're in pain and miserable? Well, probably.
Yeah.
But other people are suffering too because the earth is in pain. People are suffering. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm taking us back into the pain loop, but I'm trying to turn it into what's true before empathy. I don't know if I don't know if I can give that up.
Yeah.
But I think you're saying there can still be the joy of action, of right action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's where I am.
Yeah. So just to offer another possibility for you, like part of what I hear in that is like without this, seeming, the human process of the limited, way of seeing, then I wouldn't have the empathy. Like I need this, I need this limitation in order to have the empathy. I think you're muted. You're welcome to stay unmuted.
Go ahead. I'm
if you
just saying, okay, maybe. Go ahead.
want. And I could have it wrong, but I found that for myself, that like, oh, I need, I find that that's a common, like collective unconscious meme. I need to suffer in order to be empathic and to be loving. And I found
Right.
that in myself and sat with that and questioned it. And for me, that's not true. That's not true. And that actually my heart is much more available for me to show up present, available for someone who's suffering when I'm not also suffering. So just a little piece of my journey.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Because I don't expect suffering to like disappear altogether, because I get that.
Totally.
Suffering comes up, and then it's about how quickly I can remember a deeper truth, or remember a deeper truth for myself. So suffering will come up for you, and
Yeah.
is it a process of remembering a larger truth?
I mean, this, it's beyond words, right? So anything I sort of point to here is just a way of trying to lock in something that can't really be locked in. But one of the simplest ways to point to it for me is like, am I with the thought or am I without the thought? Whatever thought that is. Without the thought, in my experience, what I am doesn't suffer. And is also still intelligent and wise and caring.
Okay, yeah.
There's an intelligence beyond mind, the limited mind.
Without the thought that's causing the suffering.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thoughtless. Being thoughtless. Thought free.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a thought, though. Empathy isn't a thought, you know?
It's not.
Someone's
And
in pain, but
it's also not dependent on thought.
right. There's a conditioning in there still. I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I get it. I see it.
Yeah.
See it. Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I'd like to leave us all with is the possibility that suffering is optional. I'll just invite you for a moment to consider that possibility, that suffering is optional. And that being without suffering does not imply necessarily being without empathy. And just look one more time at being with the thought, Earth is being damaged. And being without the thought. Without the thought, Earth is being damaged. And knowing that you're free. You're free as you see fit to be with that thought. and also free to see beyond it and be without it. Whatever's right and true and good for you to be on your path, uniquely yours. Any final shares or takeaways? And also I'm acknowledging we're at time, so if anybody needs to go, but I'm happy to stay another couple minutes and hear final takeaways or shares.
That was so powerful. Getting to a place of non-suffering, that these, ooh, the wind, that getting we can still have the empathy, we can still care, and we don't have to suffer along with it. It may be more that maybe the suffering like grabs our attention, and our attention and our awareness on something gives us the allowance to shift it.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for the catalyst of the awareness, whatever pain or suffering that brought me to that awareness. And I can be on the other side of that. The one that really snapped for me, clicked for me, was when you said the earth a million years from now. I'm like, oh, I knew this.
Yeah.
I already knew this. And I got really in the suffering. And then when you brought in a million years from now, I'm like, ah, yes.
Right.
All is well, all is as it should be. I can still break down the, okay, well, if others would do this, if that, and then we get past that, beyond the suffering, knowing ourselves as creator, all of it is just as it's supposed to be. Thank you. And thank you, William and Carolyn, for your shares too. I know this can be deep processing, and I appreciate y'all bringing forth yourselves. And thank you, BJ, for your wonderful heart and facilitation ability. I've only got one hand, so thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, Nia.
Were you going to say something,
Takeaways?
Farrellyn?
No, saying goodbye. Are you
See
going?
you Saturday. Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, William. Thank you, BJ. I think that was
Thank you, Farrellyn.
profound. All the points that we all touched, that we each brought in. I think it was very holistic reflections and considerations.
Well, I love that, and I intend to continue to offer this. It's my jam. May it be meaningful to you. And if not, we all have our own journeys, but it's so meaningful to me that I'll continue to offer it.
It's really good. It's really good. Good to meet you, William. Sort of.
Yeah, likewise. Yep.
Oh.
You too.
See you around on the chat.
And thank you very much for your shares and illuminations, and BJ for facilitating this deep gratitude.
You're so welcome.
Thanks again.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.